Hi everyone, and welcome to Clay's Canucks commentary for April the 28th. The first day of Game 2 of Vancouver versus Nashville. And just before I get to how Vancouver is going to mash the NASH, I want to recap quickly the first round, the Canucks versus the Blackhawks. It was a crazy night at Rogers Arena. I'm still recovering from it. I can't imagine how the players and coaches are feeling right now. And many people have talked about all the subplots, the storylines coming out of that series. But I want to touch on 5 really quickly that stood out to me. The first one, Alex Burrows. He went from being the hero to the potential GOAT, to the hero to the potential GOAT, and of course being the hero. He scored first in Game 7. Then he drew a penalty shot. He missed that penalty shot. He gave the puck away to Jonathan Toews, who scored the game-tying goal. Then it gets to overtime. He takes a penalty on Doug McKeith. He's sitting in the box, but then he scores the overtime game winner and possibly one of the most memorable goals in Canucks history. Congrats, Alex, and thank you. The second storyline, Kesler and Toews. The 2 all-star centers held each other in check for almost the entire series, and appropriately, they were named as Selke Trophy finalists the day after the series ended for being the league's best defensive forwards. Number 3, the goalie drama. It was unreal, especially Game 6. Corey Schneider starts, gets hurt, Roberto Luongo comes in to relieve him. Luongo starts Game 7 and wins that game. All while Chicago Blackhawks goalie Corey Crawford was admittedly the best goalie in the series and the most consistent. Number 4, the refs. Canucks GM Mike Gillis went on a rant after Game 6, which eventually earned him a fine, but after Game 7. This rant was meant to take some pressure off his players and maybe swing a call or 2 in the Canucks' favor in the deciding Game 7. It may or may not have worked, although Burrow's penalty in overtime suggests to me it maybe didn't work, yet it was an interesting subplot to an already dramatic series. And number 5, Olympic parallels. The gold medal game, February 2010, Game 7, Canucks Blackhawks, April 2011. The Canucks went up early, just like Team Canada went up early, only to give up a game-tying goal in the last couple minutes of regulation, just as Canada did to the US back in February. Overtime, Luongo makes huge saves, both in the gold medal game and in the Game 7, and then sure enough, there's an overtime hero. Sidney Crosby for the Olympics, Alex Burrows for the Canucks game, scored on the same goal, the same net, in the same end, at the same arena. While that series is done now, let's shift our attention from round 1 to round 2, where the Canucks will be looking to indeed mash the NASH. Number 1, goalies. We got 2 Vezina Trophy finalists, Roberto Luongo, Pekka Rinne. In the 4 games this year, Vancouver and Nashville combined for a total of 14 goals between both teams. The Canucks allowed the fewest goals for the entire regular season, and Nashville was right behind them in the second spot. So obviously goals are going to be at a premium in this series. Number 2, speaking of goals, Sedins, we need you to score. Yes, you may be facing Nashville's big 2 of Shea Weber and Ryan Suter after facing the Blackhawks' big 2 of Duncan Keith and Brent Seabrook. Daniel, we need you to score. And Henrik, we need you to at least shoot the puck when you're 10 or 12 feet right in front of the net instead of passing to a guy who's on the goal line at a bad angle. Number 3, look for Ryan Kesler to explode offensively. Gone is the likes of Jonathan Toews, and now Kesler will be facing off against Mike Fisher and David Legwand. I like Kesler's chances to put up some points. Number 4, it's the battle of defensemen playing against their ex-teams. We have Dan Hamhuis. Nashville has Shane O'Brien. The same Shane O'Brien who took 14 minutes in penalties in round 1 versus the Ducks. Obi, keep on doing what you're doing. And no, I'm not talking about going to the Roxy. I'm talking about taking those penalties, and there are Canucks to beat you on our power play. And lastly, prepare yourselves for some boring hockey. At least more boring than the epic games we saw in round 1 versus the Hawks. I had the displeasure of seeing a Nashville victory over Vancouver by a score of 3-0 at Rogers Arena this year. And it was the single most boring, dull, and slow game that I witnessed all season. So the Canucks may have to win ugly, but I'd much rather have them win ugly than lose pretty. After all, it's time to indeed mash the NASH. 4 wins down, 12 more to go. God bless and go Canucks go.